Hi, this is GW. I'm here. This is going to be a Bible study that we're talking about here, and this is going to take just a few minutes. I hope you enjoy it. You know, a couple notes here as I start this off. My faith is a very simplistic faith. Basically, God loves me. That's what I believe. That's the way I think. And as long as I know that God loves me, then things tend to fall into place as far as the Bible goes. Now, there are people that look for a more strenuous, interpretation of the Bible. The book of Amos is for them. We're talking about the book of Amos, the fourth chapter, the 12th and the 13th verse. Now, Amos was written sometime between 930 and 580 BC. That's 500 to 900 years before Christ's birth, maybe even 1,000. And very possibly it was written around the time that the Assyrians came in and conquered Israel, and that was in 722. So the verses go, Therefore, thus will I do to you, O Israel, because I will do this to you. Prepare to meet your God, O Israel. For behold, he who forms the mountains and creates the winds and declares to man what is his thought, who makes the morning darkness and treads in the heights of the earth. The Lord of hosts is his name. Now that's the way they read that with a very simplistic view of, a kind God, a caring God. But Amos isn't talking about that. Amos is a little bit more along the lines. So when you do this, you need to look at this from a whole different level. You need to think about that revival tent that's out there in the middle of the summertime back in the 1950s and 60s. And you've got that traveling minister that comes in and he's got the Bible that he's holding up and it's hellfire and brimstone calling down. And what he does then is says, therefore, thus will I do to you, Israel, because I will do this to you. So you need to prepare to meet your God. For behold, he, the one who forms the mountains and creates the wind, and he declares to man what is his thought. He who makes the morning dark and walks easily over the heights of the earth. The Lord of hosts, that's his name. That's what we're talking about today. That's a little different interpretation. There are verses in the Bible that comfort us. John 3:16. God so loved the world. Well, this is not one of those verses. This is a verse that is there to wake you up, to get your attention, and make it so that you understand that having God angry at you is not a good thing. You don't want that. You don't ever want that. But God, before he delivered his final warning, he reminded them of who he was. The theologian Spurgeon said that the verse was a sober warning. And that because we don't know when we're going to meet our God, could be today, could be in September. We don't know when we're going to meet our God. We need to be prepared. You need to be prepared right now, every day. Always be prepared. Now, it says there's 3 ways that you can prepare to meet your God. Only 3 ways. You can meet your God as a challenge, or as an invitation, or as a summons. But it doesn't matter which one of those you think you're going to be meeting your God with. You have to be prepared. If you're not prepared, then God is going to see who you are. There's no making yourself out better than you are. He knows who you are and what you are. So you need to get your strategy down. If it's a challenge, that strategy is like preparing for a big game. You get your act together, you practice, you get your strategy down. You go, I'm going to go right, then I'm going to go left. You throw it long, but you got to prepare. If it's an invitation, well, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. But you still need to prepare. And if it's a summons, well, that day that we stand before God, if He summons us up there, there is no changing anything in your past. There's no do-overs. There's no mulligans. There's no making yourself out to be better than you are. Amos was giving warnings to Israel. Why? Because Israel was screwing up by the numbers. They had persistent injustice. They had complacency in the way they worshiped, and they conducted hollow worship. Chapter 4 builds a case and says that despite repeated discipline from the Lord, the people were not returning to God. So in verse 13, that's the one we're studying today, it is a climactic reminder. Don't forget who you're dealing with. You are dealing with the Lord. You are dealing with the man, with the person, with the God who treads over the mountains. It's telling you that you need to shake up your indifference. It's time. So look at the phraseology. Just look at it. Remember the way I read it the second time I read it. He who forms the mountains and creates the wind. Now think about that. I mean, mountains are symbols of strength. They're symbols of permanence. They're symbols of just things that are there that it takes a millennium to wear them down even a little bit. And the wind creates the wind. The wind is invisible, but we all know the impact of the wind. God rules over both. Those are both things that we can see. There's nothing in creation that exists outside of God's authority. Nothing in creation. And then it declares to man, what is his thoughts? He knows the thoughts that are in your mind. And he's beyond your appearance. He sees beyond, deeper than your reputation. He sees beyond what people think of you. He sees all that. He knows who you are. He knows what you're scared of. He knows what you don't want to bring out, that you don't want other people to know. He knows what you're struggling with. He knows your secrets. That's bothersome, at least to me as I look at that. It's bothersome. But it's also encouraging. It's encouraging because here is an entity. Here's our God. And it's someone that I don't have to sugarcoat anything. I don't have to worry about, oh, what I'm going to say has hurt his feelings. What I say might be misinterpreted. What I say might be thought of as being wrong or right or indifferent. I'm able to sit there and go, wow, I can talk to you. You know, you know what it is that I'm feeling. Don't have to pretend. Now, who makes the morning dark? Well, typically, when we talk about hope and renewal, we talk about morning, we talk about starting the day. This is things are going to happen. And darkness, well, that's usually something that happens at night as we're closing things down, as we're being, some type of judgment or disruption that's going to could go bad. It's going to go dark. But he can turn, God can turn what should have been a blessing into a warning. He can make morning dark. Now, God's discipline is not designed to be cruel, and it's often a mercy. It's trying to get our attention before we drift even farther away from the truth. But remember that He can make the morning dark, so we should not ignore it when He decides that He's going to discipline us. Then you have the phrase, treads on the height of the earth. Absolute dominance. That is person who's going up. He's in the Himalayas. He's in the highest mountains we have. He's on Mount McKinley, and he's just hop skipping around up there and going from mountaintop to mountaintop, not impacted at all. He's walking over them without effort. No nation is above him. No system is above him. Then you have the last phrase. And that's, you've now had this description of what you have. You have this description that we just talked about. And then you have the last phrase. The Lord, the God of hosts, is his name. And that's authoritative. He is our God. He's the ruler of all forces, heaven and earth. He's the one, the key of this message. It's not primarily about a judgment. It's about the perspective. It's meant to strip away casual faith. This is not a verse for the faint of heart. This is a verse that says that God is not impressed. He reminds us he's powerful enough to judge. He's aware enough to expose. And he's present enough to act. And they should be afraid. They should be very afraid. So the question that Amos leaves us, relatively simple. If God is truly this great, how are we supposed to respond? For the faithful, the answer is to not be fearful, not be very afraid, but to be prepared, to surrender Surrender your will to the Lord. Have that renewed desire to walk closely with the Lord. Let me leave you with this. Amos demanded that true faith produce justice, righteousness, and integrity in our everyday lives. That's what we need to strive to do. Be just, be righteous, and have integrity in our everyday lives. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe. Please mark down below if you did. Follow me on whatever area that you can find me on. Thank you very much.